Welcome back, Wildcat Nation, to episode 12 of season 6. I'm Abby Harvey with Isaac Wolf, and today we're spotlighting the women's bowling team. We will be joined by junior Abby Shewan.
The Wildcats are in the middle of their season with their first Crossroads League matchup coming at the beginning of December. Shewan has 8 top 25 finishes in her career and was named a Daktronics Scholar Athlete after her sophomore season.
Before we get started, here's your Crossroads League Week in Review.
I'm Isaac Wolf with your Crossroads League Week in Review. We start this week off in football, where number 3 Indiana Wesleyan took down number 15 Southwestern of Kansas 24-13 in Saturday's second-round matchup en route to their third straight NAIA quarterfinal appearance. Kyle Antoine threw for 260 yards and 1 touchdown while throwing a pick as well. Levi Tidwell caught 9 of Antoine's 23 completions for 100 receiving yards on the day, while Isaac Smith caught the game's only touchdown pass. Ryan Whitwell ran for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win, and the Wildcats will now face Benedictine College of Kansas, who is currently ranked number 9 in the country. That game will kick off at noon on Saturday at Wildcat Stadium. In men's basketball, number 14 Grace rolled past IU Columbus on Tuesday 104-69. The Lancers had a balanced offensive attack with 5 different players scoring in double figures, led by Gage Sefton and Ian Scott with 16 each. Scott added 16 rebounds as well. The Lancers' next matchup will be at Spring Arbor on Wednesday. Bethel jumped into the top 25 of the most recent NAIA coaches poll after an 8-0 start that included an upset of number 13 Huntington at Platt Arena. However, they dropped their first game of the season on Tuesday at number 5 Georgetown of Kentucky 74-68. The Pilots were down by as many as 25 in the first half and cut the lead down to just 2 late in the second half, but it was too late as Georgetown closed out the game, winning by 6. Luke McBride led the Pilots with 20 points, and Jameer Jefferson added a double-double with 11 points and 10 rebounds. Bethel is back in action Wednesday as they host number 13 Indiana Wesleyan, who is off to an 0-2 conference start for the first time in program history. In women's basketball, number 2 Indiana Wesleyan took care of number 10 Rio Grande at home 101-77 to improve to 10-0. Lily Frazier had a career-high 37 points to go with 9 rebounds and 7 assists in the win for the Wildcats, who will play at Bethel on Wednesday at 5:30. As for this week's Crossroads League Awards, the Women's Basketball Offensive Player of the Week is Lily Frazier of Indiana Wesleyan with that career-high performance against Rio Grande. The Women's Basketball Defensive Player of the Week is Bria Garber of Indiana Wesleyan. She had 2 blocks, 1 steal, and 4 rebounds in the top 10 matchup. The sophomore forward also added 8 points and 2 assists without committing a turnover. The Men's Basketball Offensive Player of the Week is Bailey Conrad of Mount Vernon. Conrad scored a career-high 29 points to lead Mount Vernon to an 85-78 win over Campbellsville. Conrad sank 5 of 6 shots from downtown and added 6 rebounds, 1 steal, and 3 blocks. And the Men's Basketball Defensive Player of the Week is Ian Scott of Grace. Scott highlighted number 14 Grace's 104-69 blowout of IU Columbus by hauling in 16 rebounds to go with 2 blocks and 1 steal in his 24 minutes of action. Scott also posted 16 points and dished out 6 assists. That's all for this week with your Crossroads League Week in Review. I'm Isaac Wolf.
So since the IU bowling teams are kind of fairly new to campus, how's the process been with such a new and fairly younger team?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I think that was their second season being an official IU sport. So our coach was really just recruiting so that he could get bodies on the team in numbers. And so it was a good opportunity, for me at least, to be given a varsity position as a freshman on a team, a collegiate team. But over the years, so last year was my second season. And so we started recruiting more for talent so that we could get higher scores. And then this season, even now, we're still in the process of recruiting for talent. And it's been really cool to see our team really grow and go from a low-ranking team, either like second to last place, or and to get where we are now, where we're actually starting to be competition for the other teams, has been really, really cool. And to just know that we are capable of getting, I think we placed 3rd our first tournament this season, which is incredible improvement, even from the first season that I was on the team. So it's been really neat to see the passion that the girls have, that we already have, and then to see freshmen and new recruits getting excited for what future seasons hold for us.
So how did you get into bowling?
I started bowling as a 7th grader in middle school. It was a bowling party that our school hosted, and the high school bowling coach was there, probably scouting, but we didn't know that at the time. And my dad was a bowler in college as well, and so he was like, hey, you should go bowl with the coach, see if he can do anything. And he gave me a few notes, and I threw a ball, and my dad was like, she's a bowler. And so basically the rest is history. But I started bowling in high school, and then I decided that it would be a good thing to continue in college because it's a great scholarship opportunity, which is why I'm here at IWU. The scholarship offer was really, really good for me and my family. And so just having that opportunity to continue something that I really enjoyed in middle and high school, and being able to do that on a collegiate level is really, really cool.
So you went to a big enough high school, I'm assuming, where there was a bowling team? Because that's not a typical high school sport.
Correct, yeah. So actually my high school did not offer bowling, so I bowled for my district school. So our district school was actually a lot bigger. So I went to a private school. I graduated with 28 students.
Oh, wow.
And so the high school that I ended up bowling with, they had classes of like 600 students. So their bowling team was actually one of the best in our division. And I believe we were bowling Division 1.
How does that eligibility work if you're not at that school?
Yeah, so it is based off of what your address is in whatever location it is. So I went to a school in our Mansfield district, but I was living in our Lexington district, so I was able to bowl for whatever district I was living in at the time.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
you kind of talked about bowling in college. Was there ever a moment that you were kind of like, yes, I want to bowl in college?
I think it was just the encouragement that I got from my dad and from my bowling coach in high school of just being able to, for them to be able to see the potential that there was, and the encouragement to do it on a collegiate level and actually go further with it, because it really was kind of just a hobby and something fun I could do over the summer with leagues and such. But to have other people speak into my life and just be like, hey, you're really good at this thing, you should continue doing that. And then to even see now the growth that I've experienced on this team, and just with the talent and the skill level and the mental game, and being able to see that improve, kind of just solidifies that, you know, it was a really, really good choice for me to continue doing something like that in college.
Take me through your recruiting process and then how you ultimately ended up here.
Yeah, so the coach had actually never seen me bowl when he made my first scholarship offer, because it was one of those things where he really just needed bodies on the team. And so I'd send him my stats and stuff like that. And he had seen a video of my bowling that my father had taken during one of our practices. But doing that, and then also I believe I also looked at Huntington University, and they also have a very established bowling team, and kind of making the decision, do I want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond, because they were already really established. And so, you know, it would have been maybe my senior year that I would have played varsity. So knowing that I would have that opportunity to play varsity as a freshman was a huge impact. And then also just the scholarship package that they offered me here was more than the other schools. And so, yeah, it kind of just worked out. And then also having the major that I wanted to be in here as well really impacted that choice.
What is the team dynamic between you guys and the men's team? Because I know you guys have the same coaching staff. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have kind of experienced a few different things. Typically, we'll have a head coach that kind of bounces back and forth, and then we also have an assistant women's coach and assistant men's coach right now, which is something that we haven't had in the past. And so the head coach will spend some time with the girls' team at practices and then spend some time with the guys' team at practices. But really, it's the assistant coaches that are getting down on the lanes with us, walking us through, answering questions and such. And so we've kind of flipped a point. So our head coach is now working with the guys, whereas at the beginning of the season he was working with us. And then we're working with the assistant guys coach that's typically with them, just because all the coaches have something different to offer us, and different styles of coaching. And so we're kind of seeing how this style of coaching affects our game at tournaments and such. So this next weekend, the next weekend we have a tournament, we'll be with the assistant coach, and the head coach will be with the guys.
So do you guys go to the same tournaments and travel together?
We do, yes. So the only chance that like we might be bowling at different houses, that's probably the only scenario that we'll kind of run into. Typically when we go over to Sandusky, Ohio, they have 2 different houses for men's and women's bowling, but it's the same tournament. As far as like traveling. We're always traveling together, staying in the same hotels, going to the same food stops and gas stations and stuff like that on the way. But we're typically in vans, so the girls will be in one van and the guys will be in the other van, and that's kind of the only like separation that we experience for that.
So what does a week of practice look like for you? What is there outside of actual bowling?
So we have practice Monday and Tuesday nights officially, and then they also offer leagues that we can be a part of. Typically those are on Thursdays, so in past seasons we were highly encouraged to be on a league on Thursday nights, so we would get extra practice then. And then the coaches also offer one-on-ones with us, and so we can sign up for a time slot throughout the week, not necessarily late at night, but we can go throughout the day if we have a free moment to just get one-on-one coaching, which is something new this season, which has been super helpful for a lot of people. And then we also are offered free bowling for whenever we go. So the house that we have that we practice at and is our home turf has been just really, really wonderful and super helpful with providing opportunities for us to come out on the lanes. There's only a brief span of time throughout each day that we really can't bowl because of the leagues that they have, but having those, and then I know in future seasons our coach is going to start wanting to do team workouts and such like that. So we're not doing that currently, but that is a vision that he has for the team, that we would start doing things outside of practice together.
With you being one of the upperclassmen, what has your leadership role looked like this season?
Yeah, so it's been interesting because we've had girls come and go on the team, and so the friend that I would kind of gravitate most towards on the team left this season because her major's more involved this semester, next semester. So I've kind of just assumed this floating role on the team. So like I'll talk to some people over here and some people over there. Which it's been good for me to be able to get to know all of the teammates on a more intimate level, and then also have been trying to plan a couple maybe like outings for the girls team. So we recently went to Ovi's for dinner and just experienced like a really relaxed time outside of practice, just fellowshipping with each other. And so I think going forward, that's something that I'm definitely going to want to do, is to find interests that we have on the team and to like go out and do those and just experience different kinds of life with each other.
Okay, so this might be a dumb question, but on your guys' like schedule, you guys have Crossroads League number 1, 2, 3, and 4. What is the difference from those and then the Crossroads League championship at the end?
Yeah, I think it's just the number of tournaments. So like it's the first Crossroads League tournament and then the second one. And that usually entails the same amount of teams. So it's always the same teams versus non-conference tournaments, which could be any bowling team within, I think the farthest we get is probably Illinois at some tournaments, but it's typically teams from Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, those areas. And then the Crossroads League championship is just, there's a point system that works, so wherever you place during the Crossroads tournaments kind of boosts your standing for the conference championship. I know that I'm pretty sure this will be our last season for having the Crossroads championship at the end of the season. I'm not exactly sure why we're not going to be continuing that in the future, but we will have that this season.
What are the hopes nearing the first Crossroads League tournament?
I was really encouraged. I think it was our second tournament. I was able to place third as an individual, which is really cool. It's my first collegiate award as an athlete. And so having that under my belt and knowing that it is possible for me as an individual to succeed is just a driving force for wanting to be successful in those types of things. And then it's always fun because you always have like the best team at the tournament, and so their individuals will get like top first and second, but like we'll always have like maybe one Indiana Wesleyan athlete like interrupt that line, and so it's really fun to be that one other team to interrupt the line of other really successful bowlers. So yeah, I'm super excited for it.
What kinds of things does the team do to emphasize spiritual growth?
Yeah, so we will typically do a devotion at the end of every practice. It will be led by our athlete chaplains. We have 2 of them, one for the men's and also one for the women's. And then whenever we travel to tournaments, before we all say goodnight and go into our hotel rooms, we'll all gather in one of the rooms, and they'll also do a devo, just like encouragement for the next tournament, how to prepare your mental game for it, how to be a better teammate toward others, and just really cultivating a community that other teams notice that, there's something different about this team because they're bowling well, but they're also having a really good attitude, or maybe they're not bowling well, but their attitude is incredible, and being the team that others enjoy being on a pair with is something that we're really striving for this season.
And with you being a junior and just being a part of the program for a while, what's been your biggest takeaway?
I think my biggest takeaway is that we all have the chance to be great. One of the things that I really like about our coaching staff is that they take into consideration where we're at each week. And so the starting lineup might look different from tournament to tournament, which really just emphasizes the fact that if you're not good one week and you're good the next week, then you're going to get a chance to bowl, and that, it trying your hardest can pay off eventually. And so it's really cool to see. And then also the encouragement that's on the team. So if someone's not bowling well and they're like, all right, take me out, I know I'm not doing well, and giving somebody else the opportunity and not being a poor sport about it. I think that's one of the coolest things about the team, is that there's not many of us that are poor sports, which is really, really important when you're on a team. You want to know that when you're doing well, you're going to be supported by your teammates.
How does the starting lineup work? Like, do only a certain amount of people bowl every time?
Yeah, so during tournaments, you'll have 5 starters. So it doesn't really matter the lineup. You might put your best bowler in the top position or the 5th position, and then just kind of go from there. So you'll have individual games, and people will bowl their own separate game, typically like you would if you were just to go to the bowling alley and play games with your friends. And then there will be a section of the tournament that we play Baker games, which involves all 5 people bowling one game together. And so the first bowler will bowl 1st and 6th, and then 2nd and 7th, and so on. And so typically you'll want your best bowler bowling the 5th position so that they can bowl in the 10th frame and have the potential of getting 3 strikes in that 10th frame to maximize your points.
Do you ever go to the bowling alley to just hang out with friends outside the bowling team?
Not typically when I'm in season, just because I'm surrounded by bowling, and so my version of relaxing is not bowling. But in the summertime or over Christmas break, going to the bowling alley with friends is fun. And sometimes, just to make it interesting for myself, I'll try bowling 2-handed or left-handed, which is something that I don't do anyway. I'm a right-handed bowler. But just making it fun, that way my friends are like, oh, she's going to beat us every time because she's a bowler. And trying to even the playing fields when I'm around my non-bowler friends.
If you had to pick one memory from your career, which one is your favorite?
I definitely think it was placing 3rd as an individual. It's a really cool feeling, and then just the support that our team gives for all of us who place as individuals, because we have a lot of really, really great bowlers who are able to place as individuals regularly. And so then being on the receiving end of that applause and the support and the smiles, and it was just really, really cool. And just to see that how much our team cares about each other and wants success for each other was a really, really cool feeling.
Thank you
Perfect.
for joining us.
Of course, yeah.
Thanks, Wildcat Nation, for tuning in to episode 12 with IWU's Bowling, Abby Shewan. Join us next week as we will spotlight the men's bowling team. I'm Abby Harvey with Isaac Wolf here on Wildcat Week, presented by Amplify Media.